Hey, good evening, everyone. Doc Severson with you here from Ready Set Crypto. I'd like to welcome everybody for attending our presentation tonight, Creating Passive Income, 10 Steps to Creating Passive Income with Cryptocurrency. So welcome aboard, everybody. Kind of curious as to where everybody is coming from. If you don't mind, we actually have people from two different pools here. We have people coming in from GoToWebinar, and we have people coming in through YouTube Live. So we have a couple of different audiences out there. We'll try to keep track of where everybody's coming in from. So, um, okay, so we have El Paso, Texas coming in tonight. Welcome aboard, Ricardo. All right, so let me know where you guys are coming in from and things going here. So Fayetteville, Arkansas, British Columbia, Dallas, Fort Worth, Orlando, Florida, Long Beach, California, Houston. All right. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to get going here. Do want to remind you that this is our standard risk disclosure. And guys, you know, if you don't treat this like a business, if you treat this like a hobby, it's going to be the most expensive hobby that you can imagine. So don't do this, because this will rob all of your money if you don't treat this as a business. So enough said. Okay, who am I? I'm not the star tonight, but I'll talk to you at least at the beginning. I've been doing trading education since 2005, so I've been helping people in one form or another, one instrument or another for the past 13 years. I've been trading for the past 22 years. And as you might imagine, there's a lot of volatility in the last 22 years. We've just about seen everything. All right, I am one of the co-founders of Ready Set Crypto. It's my honor to do that. I've also written a book. Some of you have gotten this book before. It's called Hacking the Holy Grail. It's available on Amazon. The whole point of the book is that everybody thinks that there's a holy grail of trading if they get the right strategy. It's actually between your ears. And our presenter tonight is going to be Mav Severson, a good-looking fellow there. Financial transactions, banking, tech expert, computer science background. He is a YouTuber with a mission to teach crypto. Again, another co-founder of Ready Set Crypto. And we have an Eagle Scout, so you know he's telling the truth. And he did quite well in 2017 and kept a lot of that. So tonight's agenda is going to be fairly simple. Part one, some of you may not know what passive income is, and so we're going to do just a couple of catch-up slides on that. What is passive income? Part two, 10 methods of creating passive income. So we're going to get right down to the nuts and bolts and talk to you about how to create passive income through crypto. And then, of course, we're going to take your questions at the end of tonight. Okay, so WIFM, what's in it for me? What will you gain from this? What are you going to lose by giving up 1 hour of Netflix and catching up on Game of Thrones? A better understanding of some of the alternative instruments available to you in crypto besides just HODL, which is what everybody knows, right? A definition of some of the terms that you may have heard before and don't really understand. Okay, so alternatives to pursue for your own game as well too. So our job is to make you aware of them, and it will be up to you to decide how quickly you want to fill those gaps. So you're gonna see some gaps in your knowledge base tonight, and you have to figure out how quickly you want to fill those. So I'd like to do a quick shout out to our premium members. These are folks that are out there that are receiving our premium newsletter every night, and we've been doing the last couple of weeks a special Ready Set live stream for those folks. So having a lot of fun doing that. So again, our goal is to share some guidance and ideas on how to create passive crypto income in today's hostile environment. We'll be talking for about 40 minutes or so, 30, 40 minutes. So we haven't timed this before, but that's usually how long this takes. And then we'll get into your questions. So please do me a favor, do Mav a favor. We just can't stop to answer questions as we're doing the presentation. It just doesn't make sense. I've tried to do that before because we want to help people. We want to stop and answer questions, but trust me, if we do that, we'll never get done tonight. So hold on to those, write them down if you have to, capture those, and then when the time is right, let it rip. We'll let you know when we're going to take questions. So one last thing here, please do us a favor again. We're not allowed to really comment on your portfolio or anything like that. So the SEC prevents us from dispensing advice on your portfolio, even though you may be hurting right now. Like everybody else, tonight's topic is about passive income. And so without further ado, here is tonight's coach, Mav.
Hey everybody, how's it going? So glad I could be here tonight to talk to you guys about passive income. I think this is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be pretty quick. Passive income really isn't a complicated topic, but I think it's one of the most important, sought after things in the world because it's the vision, right? It's the idea of being able to be on a beach in Mexico and the money's rolling in and you don't have to do anything. You're sipping your pina colada. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of passive income. So what's really cool about crypto is that there's an explosion of opportunities for you to be able to take advantage of this, to gain some passive income as well as active income. I think crypto has really changed a lot of the paradigms as it relates to making money online. And I know there's such a stigma behind that, being your own boss and being capable of making money just by your investments, your time, your capabilities. So we're going to go over 10 methods that I think are pretty good for passive income as it relates to cryptocurrency. Some are a little bit more active than others. Some require a little bit more technical know-how, upfront investment, that sort of thing. So we'll cover some of the granular points about them. But hopefully you walk away from this webinar with sort of a sense of what it takes to start to diversify your income streams. I think one of the most important things I have to stress tonight is that if you're out there and you're working a job, especially a job that you hate, and it's day to day, you're pushing papers, you're doing the 9 to 5 thing, and you're just not happy with it. I think passive income is a way to get back some of that time that's being taken from you. Get back some of that purpose that you need in your life so that you can start to be less reliant on that dead-end job that you hate. I think the most important thing that I can stress to you is, maybe this isn't even true, but I like to share it anyways. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income, be that active or passive, most likely passive. And one of the key things that separates a rich person from a poor person is that rich people know how to use leverage. They know how to use other people's time, they know how to use other people's brains, and they know how to use other people's money. So that's what I'm trying to present to you tonight. The opportunity to really take your financial freedom into your own hands by using different opportunities, different income streams, so that you can start to chip away at those financial burdens you have or the dreams you have, be that a car, a new house, you're paying off student loans. That's, personal to me. Or just, like I said, being on a beach in Mexico. Whatever it is you are looking for, I think crypto has something for you. And of course, this is right in the middle of a bear market, so everybody's going to be skeptical of what it is we're doing here and the different methods we're employing. But I think when it comes to this space, when it comes to the investment horizons that I usually recommend to people, I say that at a minimum, you need to be looking at 5 years out in terms of your investment horizon. You need to be looking at this space with a minimum of 5 years so that you kind of temper your expectations in the right way, so that when we're going up and down because of ETF stuff and China this and all this other stuff, that you're not as surprised or taken aback by how the market moves, because this is a hyper market. It's going to move in a lot of different ways. And if you're stuck in trying to figure out the different minutia of what's going on day to day, you're going to be constantly disappointed. You're going to be constantly in a state of, oh man, my block folio is down 90%. I hate this. No, you need to be looking at this from a long-term perspective. And part of doing that, part of helping you to make it through times like these, is finding different ways to make income, make positive income streams, while even when the market's down or going sideways, you're still making money. I think that's extremely important and extremely compelling. So, to that note, let's first really quickly talk about some of the different scams and schemes we might come across, because I think that is sort of the first step. The first thing you need to look at before you even get close to talking about any of this stuff is making sure that you're not getting taken advantage of, be that by some ICO or some sort of Ponzi scheme or sort of phishing scam or something like that. I think so many people have the right intentions and the right enthusiasm for this space, and they get in and they just do all the wrong things because they let their ignorance and just newness to the space overshadow their enthusiasm, and so they get taken advantage of, and it's really sad to see, and I see it happen every day. So make sure that's not happening to you, and if it did happen to you, see what you can learn from that experience so that you can move forward and put it behind you, because that's the unfortunate reality of this space right now, is that it is an unregulated market. It's going to be a little bit tough to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, that you're not going to be taken advantage of, that people aren't going to take advantage of you and steal your private key or anything like that. Make sure you're not jumping into something that seems too good to be true. I think that's what it really comes down to, is that if you hear about a new opportunity, if you hear about a new method, if you hear about something that is exciting, people are pumping it up or whatever, take the time, really try to find some opinions, just think through what you're doing. It's your money that you're putting into this. People can't compel you to do something with your money. You're the ultimate arbiter of what is going to happen with that money, your money that you worked hard for. So make sure that whoever is taking your money, whoever you're investing in, that they're working for it, that they deserve it. Make sure you take the time to really research and understand what you're investing in. And I think that will help you prevent 90% of scams and other sorts of schemes and theft and whatever. I taught a whole course on security. So if you really want to get into that sort of stuff as well, how to protect yourself against people who are going to try to hack you or, phish your password or whatever, that is also very important. But I think the most important thing as it relates to making sure that you stay profitable, that you stay, engaged, part of this space is making sure that you just take the time, ask the right questions, make sure your mind is in the right place as well as your heart, and make sure you're not trading solely on emotions. Make sure you're making rational decisions so that, I don't want to see you guys get burned out because someone took advantage of you. You invested in the next BitConnect or something like that, and then suddenly you're disgusted with this space. You don't want anything to do with it. And that would be so unfortunate because there's so many opportunities here. There's so many chances for you to really elevate your means of income and all the different things that are going on here. And it's just an exciting space. So falling victim to something like that would be really unfortunate. So I don't want to harp on this point too much, but I want to make sure that it's the first thing we start with to make sure that everybody is on the same page here, that, we're all on the same level. But yeah, let's get into some of the ways that we could start making money passively with crypto. So one of the easiest, maybe still kind of developing ways we can look at making money passively with crypto is sort of data or performance sharing. And so what I like to say, what I've heard, is that data is the new oil in this sort of economy that's starting to grow, and everything is information based as well. So I think part of that is finding ways to utilize that, finding ways to take advantage of something like Siacoin, I'm not really sure how that's pronounced, and that will hard drive mine your computer, or you've got Filecoin or Golem Network. These are pretty easy ways to just get started with taking advantage of storage space or extra performance on your computer that you're not using. These aren't going to blow your mind in terms of how much passive income you're going to receive from these, and maybe they're not even worth it, but it's a good foray into what passive income is. It's utilizing resources, it's doing things kind of behind the scenes that you don't even really realize that you're doing as a way to augment your income. So I think it's really it's a cool thing to think about. I think this space, the data performance sharing kind of model, is going to get better as they start to really develop their systems, as they start to come out with more features and that sort of thing. But for right now, it's still sort of a beta project. They're still sort of figuring it out. But yeah, in time, I think they do have the potential to possibly disrupt some bigger players out there, and it should be interesting to see how they develop. So that's a really easy one. Maybe not that huge, not that mind blowing, but it's definitely worth sharing. So the next one is going to be funds. And specifically, when I talk about funds, I like to talk about index funds and how they're statistically modeled to sort of try to beat the market. One of the ones I like to highlight is Crypto 20, which takes an index fund, a weighted index fund of the top 20 coins out there, and it basically tries to. There's some methodology in how it rebalances, but for the most part, it's just trying to beat the market. So we can see here, it for the most part has beaten Bitcoin for the better part of the year. It only recently has lost to Bitcoin, but I think that kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of the investing game. And yeah, maybe investing isn't the most mind-blowing passive income stream that you've ever heard of. It's pretty standard. I think that's what most of us are engaging in today. But I think it's finding different ways to invest. That's what gets kind of interesting. That's where you can start to make a little bit more money, or diversify away from risk. I think that's one of the most important things you can do for yourself. Is if you're all in on one coin, yes, maybe that's going to work out. Maybe you're going to get that moonshot coin and you're going to make a ton of money. But more often than not, you're going to find yourself disappointed when your portfolio is dictated by one coin because that's all you've invested in. So something like Crypto 20 or the Coinbase Index Fund, which isn't available to retail investors just yet, but it's out there. And something like Economy have these digital asset arrays, which are basically funds. These are all different ways to sort of diversify into different funds, diversify into different coins, and let them do sort of the hard work for you. What I have to stress is that you're not owning the underlying assets in these funds. So just bear that in mind. If that's important to you, if that's important that you have the funds, that you own the private keys, so that you own the crypto, if that's what you want, this is not for you. But if you really just want to take the guesswork out of investing, if you're scared of something with regard to security and people stealing your funds and stealing your private keys, and you don't want to manage wallets and all that other stuff, then maybe this is a compelling option for you. If you don't want to have to rebalance your portfolio on a quarterly basis and use index levels and all these other things, this might provide a little compelling alternative to just trying to build your own portfolio. So again, this is kind of an easy one, not very mind-blowing, but it is kind of an easy way to sort of augment your income through passively looking for opportunities. So next, we're going to talk about proof of work or mining. And so this is one that I feel a lot of people are excited by or like the idea of, but once they actually get into looking into what it entails, there's so much information out there. There's so much to learn. There's so much to understand that they get overwhelmed and they're like, okay, never mind. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to go do something else. I think at its heart, mining is really an interesting and compelling way to passively make income, but it does require an upfront investment, a significant upfront investment, and you also have to actively manage it. It is not fire and forget. You do have to do a lot of work when it comes to mining because it's tough. You really have to make sure that everything's running and that you're properly cooled your system and you've constructed your system the correct way and all these different things. There's so much to understand. It's its own little ecosystem, its own little community within crypto is understanding how to mine and how to optimize your mining rig and all this other stuff. So yeah, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for something where it's really hands-on and you like the idea of, putting in that initial capital investment and watching it grow and, you know, making it back to profit and then seeing what you can get out of it and then selling cards and just constantly being on top of the news and what's going on and what's the best coin to mine and all this other stuff. Yeah, if that appeals to you, sure, take it up, look into it. But for most people, I would say stay away from it. I don't really recommend mining to most people because you have to have the technical acumen, you have to have the capital to invest in this. And really, it would just be a lot easier if you were to invest in the underlying assets that people are mining to begin with. So right now, mining is not exactly doing very well. There's a lot of derision in the community because you've got the competition between GPUs and ASICs. We're seeing the new NVIDIA cards come out, and maybe that will revitalize some things, but GPU prices have been inflated for a long time, and there's only a couple of ASIC manufacturers, and they're not exactly the most trustworthy companies in the world. So yeah, it's not exactly a great space right now. It's not exactly an easy space. And what I often say to people is that if you're gonna mine, if you're gonna get into mining, you have to treat it like a business. You have to get in there understanding you're gonna be spending this much money up front. You're spending this much money on your electricity per month. You can have an expected hash rate of this, and on average, this is what you're going to return. So you have to look at it almost like an Excel spreadsheet, and if that's up your alley, awesome. I totally recommend going after it. It can be really fun, but you're gonna have to do a lot of research. You're gonna have to understand a lot to get into it. You're gonna have to understand what you're getting into because, I mean, I'll give you for example the 2080 Ti that was just released. I would speculate that it has around 70 megahashes per second, and it's with that, you're probably going to get maybe a dollar and a half per day, based on the average kilowatt hour rate in the US. And given that the 2080 Ti is $1,000, that's going to take you 2 years to pay off should Ethereum continue to go sideways, let alone go down. So yeah, that's the sort of mindset you've got to have if you're getting into the space. I think mining really blew up last summer because we were seeing a lot of interest behind it. At the same time, Ethereum was blowing up. At the same time, ICOs are blowing up. But yeah, that's really come down a lot, and probably for good in terms of the supply versus demand of graphics cards. But it's a complicated space, and I could definitely go on and on about this, but I want to stress that it is not as easy as some people make it out to be. One thing I do need to stress is that if you see someone promoting cloud mining or some sort of service that allows you to mine or get a contract for their mining services, I really, really do not recommend that. I don't think it's it's just not profitable. I mean, think about it from their perspective. They could either sit there and mine cryptocurrency, or they could lease out their mining services to people and make more money. So I think I think it's not exactly the easy passive income that some people might make it out to be. So yeah, I would stay away from that. So let's move on to the other sort of left hand, right hand of passive income, and that's staking or proof of stake. And so staking is sort of the cryptocurrencies community's response to what proof of work kind of became over the years, where it became very energy intensive. It's very wasteful in a lot of respects. And some people argue, well, no, it's not waste because you're turning energy into a hash rate, which is going to secure the network. So it's not like we're just, lighting stuff on fire and just watching it burn. No, there's utility here. But yes, a lot of people find it to be wasteful, and yes, things are getting better with that as we scale, as we find more efficient consensus algorithms, etc. But for the moment, I think there's been a big push in the cryptocurrency community for something like staking and other forms of consensus that don't involve wasteful transactions, wasteful consensus. So what we're seeing with staking is that instead of going in and using very expensive mining machines to secure the network and getting sort of a lottery style reward, instead you're putting up a large stake of coins. You're putting your stake of coins up, uh, and you're using that to receive dividends instead. So it goes back and forth. I've seen people argue for it and against it, in terms of, does it actually secure the network better than proof of work, and what's it compared to delegated proof of stake, and all these other questions that are going on right now. It's what you'll often find with cryptocurrency is that it's a very religious space, in terms of people get very much in their little corner and they will argue it to death. So I'm not really for proof of work over proof of stake. I think both have their reasons for existing, and I think both will continue to improve over the years. But for right now, generally I steer people away from proof of work towards proof of stake, because it's just much easier to get started with it, to make money with it. Um, it's going to really, in general cases, it's a lot simpler to set up, and really, once you get the wallet running and you keep it running through something like a VPS like Vulture, yeah, it's really not hard to understand. Or if you explain to someone that, yeah, it's sort of like a bank account where you're going to receive an annual return of 5%, for example. And there's a big list I linked there called poslist.org that will tell you what the annual returns are for each of these coins. But yeah, if you explain to people that it's basically like a bank account where you're earning interest on the funds that you've got in the wallet, basically your bank account, that makes a lot of sense to people. And I think that's the best way to think about staking, without going into all the different minutia regarding how it works and how it's different than proof of work and all that other stuff. So staking is a great method for passive income as it relates to cryptocurrency, because you don't really have to do anything. You don't have to have a powerful machine. Sometimes you don't even have to have the wallet running 24/7. So there's a lot of variance in terms of how different coins do staking, and it's up to you to understand how the coin that you're investing in does staking, if it does staking. But yes, I think it's one of the best methods I like to steer people towards in terms of how to make passive income with cryptocurrency. So yeah, I think it's a really compelling method. And again, I could keep talking about this one for a while, but we're gonna have to move on because we're running short on time. The next one I want to talk about is exchange dividend coins, and what they kind of bring is something a little bit different than proof of stake, but it's the same sort of you don't really have to do much with exchange dividend coins. You're essentially investing in the exchange in the hopes that they're going to attract users, they're going to attract volume, they're going to list the hottest coins, etc. So Binance really pioneered this model a year ago. I remember being on Binance the very first day that it started, and I think I bought BNB token for a quarter. It was, which it's crazy considering the price it is today. I wish I bought more, but that is sort of the model that we're contending with, or we're seeing kind of blow up recently, with a lot of different exchanges sort of opting for that model. And generally what we'll see with exchange dividend coins is that you'll receive a percentage of the daily trading fees. Sometimes it's 1% of the daily volume. Sometimes it's based on, I don't know, a lot of other factors. But Binance is a little bit different in that you get lower trading fees when you have the BNB tokens, and you sort of indirectly receive dividends because they're going to burn their tokens on a consistent basis. So it's going to drive up the price of their coin, especially as more and more people get involved with Binance and etc. So it's a little different than proof of stake, but the concepts are pretty similar. You're basically investing in a project, you're investing in an exchange in the hopes that it's going to continue to be popular and that it's going to continue to receive trading volume. So really not much to understand there, but I think it's a pretty rock solid model, and I think it's a pretty rock solid investment, especially as it relates to some of the biggest exchanges out there, such as Binance. It's kind of a no-brainer in terms of it's been one of the best performing coins, if not the best performing coin in 2018. So yeah, this is definitely something that I'll see continue to go forward as we see more of a shift into decentralized exchanges and how they're going to utilize exchange dividend coins for those. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see how exchanges kind of evolve over time. But we'll see what we can do in terms of passive income as it relates in the future and how this model might evolve as well. So moving on, we're going to see Masternodes as probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite form of passive income, because Masternodes reward you for taking a large stake of a coin. So it's basically proof of stake in most cases with these coins, but you have to do something additional. More often than not, they're going to require that you're always online, that you're somehow securing the network, that you're voting, et cetera, et cetera. It's sort of a model that was pioneered by Dash and has sort of blown up recently. We're seeing a lot more coins sort of use masternodes as a means to really attract investor participation. It's a pretty good model. It can be used in the wrong way, but generally I see some of the bigger coins out there that use masternodes do it pretty well. So the basic concept with masternodes is that you have to have a certain number of the coin, and if you have that certain number of the coin, you are available or able to receive additional dividends, or a better staking yield, or maybe if there's mining involved with the coin, you get a better return on your mining investment, something like that. It's generally up to the coin that you're investing in, but what we see with masternodes is that they have very high ROIs. So that's why I like them as it relates to passive income, because you're going to get a pretty good return on your investment, especially if you go with a project, a coin that is going to pan out in the future, because masternodes really reward the people that got in early. That's not always the case, but it's generally the case that the more people have of a coin, maybe they'll have multiple masternodes or something like that. So it really rewards the early investors. It really rewards the ICO investors. So yes, it's a model that I think needs a little bit more tweaking. I think we'll see it continue to evolve as well. But it's definitely a compelling one. It's definitely one that you can make a lot of really good passive income with. So yeah, definitely pay attention to masternodes. Definitely use the links I've got here to sort of research some masternodes. And yeah, keep your eyes out for anyone that you think might be compelling in a project that you like. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to like masternodes. Next, we want to talk about speculative investment. And again, investment is not the most mind-blowing passive income source, but I think this sort of encapsulates what cryptocurrency is and where it is currently, and especially what we saw in 2017 with the ICO boom. If you had invested in every ICO last year, just kind of threw darts at the board, etc., you would have made a 1,300% return, which I think kind of speaks to what we saw last year with the ICO sort of boom and then sort of burst in 2018, is that people really took hold of this model, this initial coin offering, and sort of ran with it, and it became this whole speculative investment boom. And so I don't think I don't think we're going to see that sort of ICO boom again. It's possible we could. It's possible we could see sort of return to the norm with that, but I really don't think we're going to ever see a 50,000% ICO return anytime soon. The market has just kind of lost its taste for it because unfortunately what happened with the ICO boom is that we had the burst and people realized that a lot of these ICOs were scams and they just, weren't very good projects to begin with. And so a lot of projects have failed in 2018. It's, unfortunately just kind of the nature of the market. It's the nature of this cyclical nature of of the market itself. This is kind of what we'll see going forward in terms of it's just peaks and troughs, guys. It's really how markets work. It's how we move forward as a space involved with a new technology. We're still defining things here. We're still trying to figure out the right use cases. We're still trying to find killer apps for blockchain. So I often say to people that instead of trying to find, that perfect little gem that's gonna, go to the moon or whatever, that you instead educate yourself on the different sort of sectors as it relates to cryptocurrency. There's a lot of different use cases for cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of different use cases for blockchain itself, but I think there's a lot that are better than others. And as it relates to some of the best to invest in, that's where I see, that's where I generally steer people towards. So I say platforms are going to do pretty well because you're going to be building off of them. Or supply chain is another great example of a crypto sector that is going to continue to do well because it's such a good use case of blockchain. So looking at crypto in that way, looking at the markets in that manner, will help you to understand sort of all the different, for example, all the different supply chain coins and what are their differences. And maybe instead of investing in just one, spread out your investments so you're investing in multiple of the same sector. So that way you're sort of hedging your bets. So even if you believe in one project more than the other, bet on both of them. Hedge your bets with both of them. Give more preference to one over the other, sure, but that way you're able to take advantage of one succeeding over the other, or they both succeed, etc. So this allows you to again diversify your portfolio, to spread out your risk, and I think as it relates to passive income, it lets you sort of make sure that you're not just all in on one coin, that you're going to receive long-term dividends or long-term investment yields because you took the time to really research what you're getting into and diversify your portfolio in such a way that you're safe in terms of some projects can fail, some projects can go down a lot in price, etc. So finding a way to diversify your portfolio to sort of mitigate that risk is something I highly recommend to people. So moving on, we're going to talk about security token offerings. And this is one that I've recently come across that I think is really compelling. It's really got my interest recently because the way that I see it is this is ICO 2.0 in the sense that this is where we're going to see the market go. This is what we're going to see the market evolve into, because right now, the biggest problem with crypto is that it's an unregulated market. It's not congruent with the way all the other markets of the world operate. And, there's a lot of legal bodies in the world that, we want crypto to expand. We want crypto to be involved and see this institutional investment, et cetera. But we can't do that if we continue to operate outside of the law, if we continue to try to define our own space. And I know people are very much of the sense of the opinion that we need to hold on to that sovereignty. We need to make sure that we never lose sense of the freedom that's inherent with this space, the ideals that is instilled in cryptocurrency. And I get that. I definitely get that. But unfortunately, we can't grow as a space if nations of the world continue to look at us as a black market, as a means of facilitating crime and terrorism and etc. So there has to be a compromise. We have to make a compromise in some respect. And I think that's what the STO represents. It is a way to tokenize equity, assets, etc. It allows people to sort of utilize the ICO model in the sense that it's democratized, it's decentralized, gives people the ability to invest in things. You could invest in, for example, real estate with just $10. You can't do that today. There's not a lot of places that will let you invest a small amount of money in a large asset like real estate. But that's what STOs open the world up to. There's many different opportunities where we could see assets and equity tokenized through STOs, done in a proper channel so that we're not in contention with the law, we're not in contention with securities laws, and instead we're playing it with the legal aspect in mind. So I think that's why they're so compelling. That's why we're going to continue to see them grow and be more and more prevalent in the market. So taking the time to really educate yourself on what they are, what they're going to do, because they're definitely coming. They're definitely going to be here very soon, especially as we continue to see the discourse and discussions related to, our ICO securities or utility tokens, etc. This is the way the market's going, guys. So being on top of it, staying informed, making sure that you're, in front of the investor herd is how you be smart, is how you become smart money, and how you maintain that edge that, lets you get in before everybody else, lets you, be, emotionless when, they come in and they inflate the price and then the price drops, etc. It doesn't matter because you got in first. So you get to watch the whole thing happen in front of you with the sense that you got in so early that it doesn't matter. You're still up, even if the market corrects 90%. So that's why I think this is one of the most compelling ways to, and compelling things to invest in right now, or chase after in the crypto space. And as it relates to passive income, it's just like ICOs, guys. It's just like, you're going to be investing in something and you're going to be expecting a yield, an investment return from it, and an ROI. So yeah, it's really not that complicated. It's not that different than what you're used to. So yeah, again, take the time to really educate yourself on this. Take the time to understand it and understand what's coming to the market, because it's going to be here before you know it. So I'm really excited for them. I'm going to continue to be talking about them and trying to educate people on them, because I think this is the way the market's going. So with that covered, we've now covered 10 different ways of maintaining, creating passive income in cryptocurrency. I hope you learned a little bit. And what I'd like to offer you is something a little bit more. We've got a class where I talk about this subject a little bit more in detail. I go into more points. I talk about different coins, different methods, just in more detail than what I could cover here. And so we're going to start that sale tonight. We're going to start offering that class tonight. And because you guys were so patient and sat with me through this webinar, I really appreciate it. To reflect that, we're giving a very limited time sale only this weekend. So normally it's $99, but it's on sale tonight for $79. And if you're one of our premium members, we're gonna you can use your $10 off coupon to get it for $69. So I think that's a really good deal for sort of the inherent education that you're going to get out of this. I really do think that this class will pay for itself in terms of what I'm going to share with you, what I'm going to teach you about, and the different opportunities I'm going to show you. So I think it's going to be a really exciting journey, and way to sort of augment your income, like I started this webinar talking about. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, just reach out to us at support@readysetcrypto.com. And as it relates to how to get it, this link is not public. The class is not out yet, so you have to use this link to get to it. It's readysetcrypto.com/passive, and you should see the sale on right now. And like I said, that sale is going away as of Monday, so you have to get onto it right now to get that class. And after Monday, it's going to $99. So make sure you do that. Another thing I want to stress is that when you're learning about something like passive income, it's really important to understand and sort of understand the complementary aspects. So one of the previous classes that I taught was fundamentals. So we have a class on fundamental analysis as well, that I think was one of the best ones I've ever taught. I really enjoy that topic. It's kind of the core of what I do at Ready Set Crypto, is understand how to evaluate cryptocurrency projects and read them front to back. So with that in mind, I really wanted to give you guys a bundle so that you could save on both of them, both the fundamental analysis class as well as the passive income class. So if you go to readysetcrypto.com/funpass, that was my idea, by the way. Again, this link is not available to the public, but this offer is only good until Monday as well. So make sure you get on that. Make sure that if this is what you want, definitely get on it. Yeah, we're really excited to offer these things to you guys. We really love giving you this sort of education so that you can go forth and, make that money with crypto, find those opportunities. This is such an exciting space, and it's such an honor to be in front of you guys and talking about this stuff because it's just so exciting. It's really cool. So crypto doesn't sleep, neither do we. So we're constantly on top of this stuff. We love being in front of you guys, and we really appreciate you being on this webinar. So at this point, like I said, the sales go through this weekend. At this point, we're gonna go into Q&A, and again, here's the links if you need them. Let's get it started. All right, so we got a question about VeChain, and as it relates to passive income, yeah, actually, VeChain is definitely one that's going to embody both the sort of staking model as well as the Masternode model. VeChain Thor is going to be the native currency that they're going to put out, and yeah, I need to catch up on my research on what's the difference between like X nodes and all the other nodes that they've got, but it's a pretty simple model in terms of you're going to be receiving a portion of the VeChain network and the dividends based on that. So yeah, I do think that VeChain has a future. I do think that they've got a lot going for them, and yeah, hopefully that they continue to improve their marketing, can continue to improve their message, and really just help people better understand their technology. I think that's something that they need to do a lot better because they've got one of the toughest white papers I've ever read through. So yeah, VeChain is definitely up there.
Okay, so Michael is asking about what are your thoughts on staking pools?
Staking pools. Yeah, so one thing I definitely didn't talk about in general is pooling as it relates to either mining rewards or staking rewards. Pools are interesting. They're almost kind of necessary at this point in mining because there's just such huge pools out there. For those who don't know, pools allow you to pool your resources, your example mining resources with others, so that you have a better chance of receiving the rewards. If your pool makes up 20% of the network, then you're on average going to receive 20% of the rewards. And so that reward is going to be split up between everybody in the pool, of course, based on the power within. So it's the same sort of principle with staking pools. I just want to caution people to make sure that there's some sort of safeguards in place to make sure that no one can run away with all the money, that you're not just staking on one wallet or something like that, that there's ways in place to make sure that someone can't take advantage of you or something like that. So, yeah.
Thoughts on Payfair versus local coin swap?
I do like Payfair. I do think that they need a lot better message-oriented type marketing. I think they've sort of struggled recently with just getting out there and launching, but now that they're out there, I think they're going to become more and more relevant in today's sort of crypto ecosystem. Hopefully they can continue to add coins, that sort of thing. What is compelling about Payfair is that you can have, I think it's called a trust node with them, where you'll receive, I think, 1% of the daily trading volume, whatever that is. And it's really cheap to get one of those as well. So yeah, it could be a pretty compelling, passive income source. So I don't know much about local coin swap, unfortunately. So I'll really have to look into what are the big differences between Payfair and local coin swap. But I do know that I like Payfair a lot better than local Bitcoins. So, yep.
Ricardo's asking, do you teach how to set up a node?
So unfortunately, I can kind of cover the basics, and I will sort of talk about what is necessary to, on average, set up a node. Be that if you're staking or doing a masternode, etc. But a lot of times, what you'll find is that nodes require very specific, instruction sets where you have to, if it needs to be set up on Linux, for example, you need to go through that whole process. And usually there's really good guides. But if you've never touched a command line before, unfortunately, I can't really help you understand implicitly what's going on there. You're going to need to have some technical acumen to say, yes, I'm comfortable being able to run commands. I'm able to do some troubleshooting, that sort of thing. So not every node is created the same. Some are much harder to set up than others. Some are very easy. I a long time ago, I set up a Nav Pi with Navcoin, which is a Raspberry Pi, a $35 computer, using Navcoin and doing staking on that as a way to have a 24/7 wallet always online. And so that was a really interesting experience because the Raspberry Pi did not have a lot of processing power. And there was a lot of scripting involved, a lot of running command line scripts. But it was really a great project. It was really fun to do, and so kind of look at it that way. What is your technical prowess, and how comfortable are you sort of digging into the technical details? And if you're not, I can't really recommend most coins out there that require sort of that setup process. But yeah, great question. Yes, trading bots. So trading bots, there is definitely a spectrum in terms of how hands-on they are. And generally what I've found is that the free ones, unless you're really wanting to like dig into the code and tweak the settings and all that other stuff, the free ones are much harder to use than the paid versions or the paid trading bots. And what I've also found is that you really need to be on top of it as well. You can't just set it and forget it. You need to be in there making sure that it's doing the correct strategy, that it's selling off the bags, that it's acquiring, etc. So unfortunately, trading bots are just not that sophisticated at this.
It is not a holy grail right now. I mean, as long as the market's going generally lower, you're just loading up on bags right now. Unless you have a great algorithm that you're running, you're getting very, very small gains on just little pops to the upside. So you're not getting anything to run. So you're going to be grinding your account down, and I know this through experience.
Yeah. So there's other models in place. Doc covered Shrimpy not too long ago. There's bots like 3 Commas and Crypto Hopper, which are a little less intensive. We're getting better as a space about that kind of stuff, but right now it's tough, and you really do need to be. It's more of an active passive income source than just a passive income source. But yeah, great question. Let's see. Oh, crypto ATM as passive income. That's an interesting question. Because there are not that many of them right now. Well, let me think about that because they need to. You definitely need to be making sure that you're setting it up in the right place, and you're sort of subject to making sure that. I don't know. That's not something I've looked into enough, but it's a great question. I mean, yeah, looking into sort of the costs necessary to set up a crypto ATM and where you put it, and is there any other competing ATMs in that location, etc. Yeah, you would definitely need to look at it like a business, sort of the same thing I said about mining as well. But yeah, that's maybe something that will become more and more relevant. But for right now, I think it's sort of a fringe kind of thing right now. But yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. Let's see. How do you distinguish a good masternode? As all the famous ones are too expensive, and the less unknown ones are a little bit difficult to sell. Maybe. Yeah. So that's a good question. Basically, how you find good masternodes, and I think it goes back to what I was talking about: fundamental analysis and sort of how you evaluate a project, kind of front to back. How you look at a project website and read through a project's white paper, and kind of understand what it's doing. If a project exists for no other reason than just to be a masternode, I don't think that's a very good project. I don't think that's a very compelling thing that's gonna, you know, like I was saying in the very beginning, you need to invest with longevity in mind. You need to look, 5 years ahead for what's going on for this project. And again, if it's just trying to be a masternode or some sort of, just only staking coin with no other functionality, yeah, I just don't think that that's very compelling, and it won't really attract that many users. And of course, you can attract users based on ROI alone, sure. But yeah, I don't think that's enough. So I like to see projects that have a masternode in tandem with some sort of functionality in place. We were just talking about VeChain, and VeChain is, their masternodes are part of the network. They're part of how they secure the network. Even Dash, which is not my favorite coin, but sort of pioneered the masternode model and really made it popular. That is a coin that they depend on the masternodes to kind of be a part of the network and not sell their positions, because as we saw, a Dash masternode was almost $1 million earlier this year. So yeah, let's see. The passive course is up on the site. You just need to go to readysetcrypto.com/passive to access it. And then once you have purchased it, it will be in your class archive. Okay, great. Let's see. What else we got?
All right, let's take 2 more questions here for tonight, and then we apologize. There's so many questions flying in right now.
Yeah.
We're just no way we can grab everything. So if there's something that you have a burning question, go ahead and email us, support@readysetcrypto.com, or we have a contact page on our website as well too. So otherwise we'll be here all night. And some of you people are in Europe right now, and that's
Again, thank you so much.
admirable for your staying up so late.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate you guys being on wherever you are in the world. As I said, crypto never sleeps, and so we have to constantly be on top of this stuff because it's always evolving, always changing. So it's a great space to be a part of.
Ricardo, if you're a premium newsletter subscriber, make sure you use your coupon, which is in every single newsletter that we put out. So there's a coupon that's out there which will get you $10 off the course.
And then, just making sure that you use the same email that you use for the newsletter. We'll make sure that it's attributed to the same account. I'm pretty sure that's, yeah.
Yep.
And then, the content of the classes. So everything we do is hosted on YouTube. It's just sort of an unlisted video. So it's always going to be on there, and you'll always have access to it. So it's not like, I don't know, for example, if you're a premium newsletter subscriber and you cancel your subscription, sorry to see you go, but you won't lose access to the class that you purchased. So that you'll always
you'll have access to it in perpetuity. So
yeah, of course.
Okay, anything else here? I don't think so. I think we're good. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedules to learn about passive income. Please, if you have any interest at all in the class, get signed up for it this weekend, because we will put it up to list price. So this is what we do. We're trying to encourage people to sign up for this thing by this weekend, and then it just goes up on the store.
Yeah. So thank you guys for sticking around. We really appreciate it. We love doing this kind of stuff for you guys. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to us. Otherwise, have a great night, great morning, wherever you are in the world. Let's continue to make crypto great. So, yeah.
All right, folks, have a great night. Thank you.